Here's Brody Brazil.
As I record this, the Sharks have played 61 regular season games, meaning they're about 75% of the way through with their schedule. Also meaning they have 21 games left. But for whatever reason, I've decided to title this video 10 questions for the final 20 games. Yeah, it's just a round number, right? I rounded down. No particular reason other than that. So yeah, it's my fault. I'm not getting it wrong. I'm actually just changing it to sound better. But by the way, these 10 questions, they're also not exactly questions. They're more like themes or topics or ideas, things to pay attention to down the stretch of this season. One where we already understand the fate, right? The Sharks are not going to make the playoffs for a fourth season in a row. But that doesn't mean there aren't relevant and interesting and obviously important themes and things to focus on and watch down the stretch. So that's the point of this video, trying to identify what remains for us in this season with 10 questions, so to speak. These are presented in no particular order, but let's begin with this. Will the Sharks actually get to 10 home ice wins this season? They've been sitting on 6 for a while now, and this is after 30 games at this point on home ice. They've only got 11 dates remaining at SAP Center. They'll need to win 4 out of the final 11 just to get to double-digit wins, which 5-10 years ago would be unfathomable. That building has always been a compliment to the team. It's always been a huge home ice advantage. Even during rather mediocre seasons, the tank was the place where the Sharks went to get right. Now this season, struggle has been an overall theme, road and home, but specifically in their own building. And I've yet to really even find or hear or come across a reason that I believe in of why this is the case, why SAP Center has just been not the thing for them this year, why they struggle there, why they lose late leads, why close games become distant games in the end at the tank. I really cannot figure it out, other than just noticing that it has been a theme, it has gone against the Sharks, and it's something that history has really never provided us with a situation like this where the Sharks are going to have to really push. I mean, winning 4 out of the final 11 at home goes far against their ratio right now. They're going to have to push just to get to double digits. So I'll be paying attention to this final stretch. I know it's something that the players and the coaching staff, even for the reason of just feeling better about it, it's something they would like to resolve by the end of this season. Here's the next one. Will Erik Karlsson reach 100 points after 82 games? He needs 23 points in the final 21 games. Now that pace, it sounds intimidating to most, but if you look at what he's been doing basically since October, he's fully capable of that. But I will say the variables are changing and maybe even about to change even more. In the final month, in the final weeks of the season, what will the roster look like? Who will be playing? Who might be calling it a season early? The games mattering differently. Timo Meier is not on the team now as a scoring mate, so to speak, so Karlsson can get some more assists. Will the Sharks have trouble scoring without Timo Meier? That's one of my other points and thoughts here. So the dynamics are going to change for EK65, but I'm not here to doubt him at all. The way he's been going seems like no matter what adversity presents itself, he has continued to produce points. I certainly hope he does. A career season for him so far. It would be great to see him stay healthy and finish it off. And you got to think that at 100 points, he's got to be a frontrunner for the Norris Trophy. I don't know how it gets decided. Is it based on points? Is it held against him that the Sharks won't be a playoff team and some other candidates will be on postseason teams? I don't know, but 23 points in 21 games, he can do it. We're in this final stretch. I know this is more of an individual aspect than a team thing, but it's still very interesting. Will we see any call-ups? That has not been a thing at all this regular season. Now, even I expected at some point, and maybe we're approaching that point right after the trade deadline, that Mike Grier would say, okay, Eklund, Bordeleau, Gushchin, Robbins, or others. I've just thrown these names out there. I want you to all understand that these are the 4 I could fit on the screen and kind of top of the top of the Barracuda points list right now, point leader list. So there might be others, but will we see any call-ups? We haven't seen these guys all year. In fact, we've only really seen Barracuda players when absolutely necessary to the Sharks roster, dealing with injury or illness or a trade that opened up a roster spot. We've yet to really see wholesale promotion by Mike Grier and his AHL players. So this is definitely something to pay attention to. And maybe if you're watching this video a couple days from now, maybe we'll know the answers to some of this stuff because the trade deadline is quickly approaching. But the bottom line is, I'm interested to see if, or if not, any of these players get the opportunity. And I'll tell you right now, Mike Grier has kind of held firm on this theory of we'll call you when we're ready for you and when you're ready for it. I would not be surprised if some of these players get called up. I would also not be surprised if none of these players get called up. What is the situation that they would be joining? A struggling team into the season. Yeah, you get some NHL experience, but some of these players, Eklund and Bordelot included, already have it under their belt. So I literally don't know. I figuratively don't know, but this is definitely something interesting to watch down the stretch. Kahkonen, you'd have to imagine he's going to get the most opportunity to start in nets down the stretch for a couple different reasons. I mean, the main one is obviously in the month of February, started playing well. Reimer was out for whatever reason. Right after the All-Star break, Kahkonen jumped in there. Put wins and losses aside. Just look at how he's been playing. Sometimes the defense helps him out. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes he gets run support in the form of Sharks goals. Sometimes he doesn't. Just watch more of the way he's playing rather than the results, or even sometimes goals for and goals against. He's been trending well in February, and just by nature, right, that Reimer is not under contract next year. Kahkonen is. Maybe this is something down the stretch where he's playing well, you ride that hot hand, and you build momentum for Kahkonen no matter what you even know you're doing or not for next season. Why not? He's under contract. Reimer's not. It's nothing personal. It's just kind of reading the writing on the wall. So I'm going to assume, I guess this question is more rhetorical. I think Kaapo Kahkonen gets the most starts down the stretch. Can the Sharks be better later in games? Now, this happened as I record this, last night, but on Tuesday night at the Tank, they suffered their 12th loss of the season when they had a third period lead. That's rough, right? 12 times the Sharks in a third period have had the edge in a game that they couldn't maintain, couldn't hang on to. So I certainly hope they get some more third period leads with the rest of this regular season. But more importantly than that, I hope they find a way to keep some of these leads till the end of the game, till the final horn. And again, I understand what is this all for if you're not going to make the playoffs. It's just for the team understanding that they improved in a certain regard. And yeah, it's going to earn you wins too, let's be honest, down the stretch. But also the fact that the team and the group proved that they could put some things together. I think that bodes well too for the coaches, the coaching staff, and head coach David Quinn. So let's see what opportunities present themselves and what they can do with late lead situations. Will there be any more emerging players for the Sharks? Obviously, Zetterlund was just acquired from the Devils trade. Svechnikov has been around all season, but I really do feel like his game has been coming around in the last couple weeks. And Gregor, look, we've always been waiting for him to just turn that corner and turn chances into actual scoring totals. Now, full disclosure, I had to alter this presentation right before I started recording here because I just found out Mikey Eyssimont got traded today. He was another name on this list. He's now obviously going to emerge in a different state than California, probably, and probably get a good taste of the playoffs. But I'm interested to see if any players in this final stretch can make a name for themselves. To be perfectly honest, we go into this summer, you'll remember the entire season of how a player was. But it always leaves a nice taste in the fans' mouths, in the coaching staff's mouths, in front office's mouths, to have a player who finished the season strong. Even when the team wasn't going well, an individual who kind of made a push at the end. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Barabanov kind of was that player. So can we get another player who has a statement end to the season. Any more emerging players, I'll be keeping an eye out for that. Okay, minus Timo Meier, are the Sharks going to continue scoring goals in an adequate fashion? Timo, at his last game in San Jose, had scored 31. And the Sharks, at his last game in San Jose, had scored 179 as a team. He had 31 of their 179. He was scoring about a sixth of the team's goals this year. So what does it come down to? Games where they used to score 4, now maybe they get 3. Every couple games, they're instantly minus a goal. Somebody else needs to step up. Timo Meier was one of the shot leaders across the entire league, still is this season. So he was getting opportunities. He was obviously a monster in the offensive zone. Will the Sharks just flat out struggle to score goals? We've only seen one game now. Well, I take this back. We saw a couple games where he was hurt before he was traded. Right now we've seen one game with him not even on the roster anymore. But are the Sharks going to struggle to get goals minus their leading goal getter this year? Or is somebody else going to step up? Are we going to see a lot of games where defensively they play well enough, but they score 0 or 1 or 2, and that's not enough? It's a possibility. It's definitely a concern, but it's all part of the bigger picture equation of, honestly, what they needed to do. Any final streaks possible? And I mean streaks in the good, hopefully, but also, unfortunately, negative variety. This is a Sharks team that has lost 5 games in a row twice this year, including the first 5 games of the regular season. I think it was not long after that. Was it in November? They also lost 5 straight, but also in November, they won 3 games in a row. That is their longest streak. I'd love to see them top that. I'd love to see them win 5 in a row, just to kind of cancel out those 2 losing skids. I really would. I mean, it doesn't really cancel them out, but it just goes to show you can lose 5 in a row. This team can win 5 in a row. Will they do it? Are they capable of it? Are they a different team now than they used to be? There's a lot of variables in there that go against this team to do that. But I'm curious what streaks we will see down the stretch. Sometimes after the deadline, a team just plays more freely, and for no good reason, all of a sudden they figure it out. They win 5 or 6 games in a row. Who are these guys? What are they doing? They weren't supposed to do this. Under no pressure, they do it. But we've also seen a team get near the end. A couple players have to bow out due to injury or due to precautions, and the team is also now shorthanded, and then they do lose 5 in a row. That's also a possibility. But what streaks, if any, are we going to see here down the stretch in the final 21 games, not just 20? And on that note, will any players be shut down? Now, I don't hope for this. I'm not predicting this, but I am being realistic about this. It's not uncommon. You get to the end of a hockey season, and especially one where the outcome of the team, like I said, is already on the table. They're not making the playoffs. They're not playing for the next second season. So players with nagging injuries, and especially players under contract for next year with nagging injuries right now, you want to make sure you don't make it worse. You want to kind of, cut your losses at some point. So again, I'm not hoping for this. I'm not saying it's a best case scenario at all, but will any regular Sharks players not actually even make it to game 82 on the season? It's just something to pay attention to, and I don't know that this one has the biggest effect on anybody, maybe results at the most. Certainly you'd be sitting somebody for a good reason to try and get them better and to rest them up and give them a break, but I don't know the answer to this one. I just want to float it out there. Okay, I think this is the last one here. Will the Sharks finish last in the NHL standings? Now again, the dynamics of this team have changed. Trade away some of your assets, some of your most valuable pieces. The chemistry of this team has changed. They've had to do some things, some of the heavy lifting, some of the wow moves to prepare themselves for the future. Players, by the way, won't even hear the phrase of tanking, the conversation of that. That's a ridiculous thought to them. They're playing for pride. They're playing for contracts. They're playing for opportunity, jobs, all of the above. Coaching staff, same way. But look, the Sharks as a team have been seriously altered and might go through some more changes here down this final stretch. They're only 2 points. As I went into recording this video, I looked at the standings. They're only 2 points away from Columbus last in the league. So it's not far-fetched that like with 21 games left, like this could happen. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, that's a great thing. I'm not here to go against that anymore. We've all been through a rough season. You might as well have this rough season pay off for you, pay dividends for you. And so the Sharks, if they do finish last, or whoever finishes last in the league, I just want to point this out. They only get a 25.5% chance at getting that first ping pong ball for the first pick in the draft. That's crazy, right? And they've done this for specific reasons. They don't want people to tank on purpose, and I don't think the Sharks are tanking on purpose. That's not happening here. They're rebuilding. They're redeveloping their team. They're like rehabilitating their team. And to do that, you got to slim it down before you can build it back up. But I'm just here to say that, people say, well, try and finish last. Try and get that number one pick. Even if you finish last, it's still a 1 in 4 chance that you'll get the first pick. It's not 60%. It's not even 40%. It's 25%. So you still have to be lucky even if you finish last. What I'm saying here is there's no particular reward. If you finish second to last, it's still 18%. There's no trophy for this. There's no, hey, you did it, congrats. If you're going to get lucky anyway, you're going to get lucky anyway. I say do all the smart decisions for your team and let the chips fall where they may. If you finish last, you finish last. I hope the Sharks would get rewarded with that in the 25.5% chance of the number one pick. But honestly, this is a thing. Like, this is out there on the table. Will they actually finish in the bottom of the basement? It's possible. And again, it's not intentional at this point, but when you've changed your team around, you might change it around even more. This is definitely a consideration and just something to watch. So there you go. There's my 10 questions and thoughts and stuff and ideas for these final 21 games, 21 as of tonight when I publish this. 21 games remaining for the Sharks, but let's just round it down and call it 20. Let me know what's on your mind. What are your thoughts? Did I miss something? Do you want to correct me on something? That's a popular thing to do on social media, correct Brazil. So thanks for being here. Thumbs up on the video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel. You might already be, but just double check for me. I appreciate that.